What's up, team? This is Ro, your best friend at JMSB. So here I was asked a question for FINA 200, personal finance. Let's have a look. Sandra wants to deposit $100 each year for her son. If she places it in a savings account that pays 4% interest compounded monthly, what amount will be in the account in 20 years? So this is a pretty straightforward time value of money problem that can be tackled rather quickly with the use of our fabulous financial calculators. The idea is to simply go through the problem, identify the TVM variables that are involved, enter them into our finance calculators, and to calculate the one variable that is missing. So in this example, Sandra is planning on making $100 deposits each year. Since these deposits are going to be repeated for a fixed amount of time, we can argue that they represent an annuity and the $100 is the value of the payment. So in our finance calculators, we're simply going to press 100 followed by payment. If we continue to read, it tells us that these deposits are going to be made in an account that are earning 4% interest compounded monthly. For that reason, the value for IY, or the interest rate, is going to be 4, and we're simply going to press 4 followed by IY. Because this rate is compounded monthly, we can argue that compounds per year, or CY, are going to be 12. And since these deposits are being made every year, we can argue that PY, or payments per year, are going to be 1. The way that we access CY and PY on our calculators is simply by pressing second followed by IY. Notice how on top of IY, it does say PY. And this is how you enter the PY worksheet. PY stands for payments per year. Because Sandra is making annual payments, we're going to enter 1 followed by enter for payments per year. We can now press the down arrow, and now you're going to see CY on the screen. CY simply stands for compounds per year, and since this rate is compounded monthly, we're going to set CY to 12 by pressing 12 followed by enter. We can now hit the up or the down arrows to ensure that PY and CY are set to the desired values. And once you've done that, you can simply press second followed by compute, because that's how we exit worksheets. Notice how on top of compute it does say quit. If I continue to read, I can see that the deposits are going to continue for 20 years. For that reason, the value for N is going to be 20, which is essentially the total number of deposits. In our timeline, the 100 is repeated 20 times. For that reason, N is going to be 20. And we're simply going to press 20 followed by N to enter that into our calculators. Now in this example, we're trying to look at the future value. We want to know what the balance is going to be in 20 years. So we're simply going to ensure that our present value is set to 0 by pressing 0 followed by PV. And present value should be 0 because there's no single deposit made in our account today. Sandra is essentially placing 100 at the end of each year. Had there been an additional deposit made into our account at time 0, in this case present value would also have a number assigned to it. And now that we've done that, we can quickly check that all the TVM variables have been entered correctly. The way that you do that is simply by pressing recall, or RCL, which is on the bottom left of your calculator, followed by the variable that you're trying to recall. So recall N is set to 20. Recall IY, we've got this guy set to 4. Recall PV, that's set to 0. The payment is set to 100. We can press second IY to ensure that PY is at 1 and CY is at 12. We exit the worksheet by pressing second compute, and now we can press simply compute followed by FV, the future value. Now notice how the calculator is going to switch the sign. The reason why it switched the sign to a negative is simply because we placed the payment as a positive value. And notice how you get an answer of 3,082 cents. I'm hoping that that's the answer to this problem. So I hope this explanation helps, and if it does, make sure you tag your friends that are taking the course. In the meantime, I hope you guys study well, you keep well, grow,